Welcome to the show, Rockstars. Today, we have Corey Walker. She is a social media expert who specializes in healthcare companies. She's going to teach us all about Instagram. She's not a one-time best-selling author, guys. She's a 5-time best-selling author of the book, Instagram for Dummies. As you can imagine, Instagram is always evolving, so her book has to be rewritten, and she's just about to release her newest edition, which means gold for you. As you're listening, you're going to hear her how she leverages Instagram with healthcare companies to grow their practices. She also has a coaching company, so if you're at the point where you need some help, there's some information on that. But this episode will give you some simple tools of how you can amplify your impact and get some more patients in. Enjoy the show. In your bio, it talks about how you work with healthcare businesses. How did you get into that niche? Are you a healthcare provider, or how did you fall into that?
Well, I started working for Vision Service Plan. So that was all optometrists, ophthalmologists. I went from there over to working for myself. And then through a connection at VSP, I got involved with Dignity Health. And so for a lot of your viewers, listeners, if they're not familiar with Dignity Health, it's a very large healthcare network, mostly in the West Coast and Arizona. And so I started working with them probably 16 years ago. And then it just kept growing. So I'd work for a hospital network. And then, as social media was growing, that hospital network would say, "Oh, hey, you need to talk to Corey." And they'd tell me, or they'd refer me over to a medical group. So it kind of just kept growing. And so I do a lot with them. And then I do some with a smaller community health network up in Nevada City in California. And so it's just gotten into this little niche area that I really like working with healthcare providers to help them with their social media.
Okay. So have you worked with smaller practices before, like your mom, pa, who just owns like one location kind of thing, or is it usually bigger clients?
Well, it's a mix. So the one I just mentioned in Nevada City, they're a community health clinic, but it's pretty small. And then I do have another client who is a OBGYN, and she also does some of the weight loss, like some of the new GLP-1, semaglutide, all that kind of stuff. And she's on her own. So I do a lot with her, and we do a lot of content around just general healthcare for diabetics, healthcare for women trying to lose weight. She leans more into that than the kind of OB/GYN side.
That's very cool that you have that background in it. So how did you get into Instagram to begin with?
I just started using it myself when it first came out. And then I started promoting my business through it. And then as I was seeing some success, and I will say it was a little bit easier in the beginning because it wasn't so flooded. But so as I started seeing success with it, just promoting my own business, I started putting more and more of my clients on it and saying, "Hey, I think it's time. We should get on there." And so as that grew, I was tapped by Wiley, who's the publisher of Dummies books, and they said, "Hey, would you like to write Instagram for Business for Dummies?" was the first one. And then the second one was just Instagram for Dummies. So.
Yeah. Okay. So you've written Instagram for Business for Dummies. You've had 4 books you've written. You've got a 5th one coming out. Let's talk to these business owners who probably are very afraid of Instagram, like we were talking about. Like it's this very scary thing that people know they should do, and maybe they're even on personally. Let's start with some 101 kind of stuff. What would you say to a business owner as to why Instagram is so important to grow their business?
Yeah. So Instagram is really kind of the middle ground where a lot of different audiences are. Facebook has aged up quite a bit. So I have a daughter who is 20, and I have another daughter who's 16. They wouldn't touch Facebook with a 10-foot pole. And then you've got TikTok, which is a much younger audience where they are. But Instagram kind of straddles both of those markets and the middle. So you've got, you've got your Gen Z on there, you've got your millennials on there, you have Gen X, you have boomers, you have everybody on there in different capacities. And I find that some of the different age ranges enjoy certain features over others. So it really is a platform that you can use to get to almost whoever you want, because they're all they're all there, as opposed to some of the other
that is
ones.
amazing. I never knew that because, I think people know that Facebook's for the older group, so to speak. Although, for someone who's on Facebook, I don't like that, but whatever, it's true. We all kind of know it's
Me
there.
too.
Yeah, right. But that Instagram, I didn't realize it was that catch-all. It captures kind of the ends of both sides of that, plus everyone in the middle. And
It
so for
does.
someone who has as much healthcare experience as you do, helping people with their Instagram accounts, what do you see businesses use Instagram for that helps them grow?
Well, the first thing that you have to do is assess who your target audience is. So, if it is for physical therapists and they're looking for a certain age range, say, or they're, if you're more into the sports therapy side of it, where maybe you're trying to really target those, like my daughter used to play volleyball. So, maybe you're trying to target that type of audience. So really hone in on what audience that you want to see, and then start creating content for that audience.
Now, what would be the benefit of me using it? I mean, now I know I can reach all those people. You were talking about how you would target patients, is what you were saying. You're like, yeah, if your audience is younger, you can target them on Instagram. If they're older, you can still target them on Instagram. And so, depending on your patient list. So, how do you do that when the client works with you to like, hey, Corey, help me grow my medical practice? What are the things that you would advise them to do or do for them that helps them get new patients, for example?
The very first thing we do is take a look at who is your ideal patient. Because we all know I have clients, and I have, some clients that they're great to have, but they're not my favorite cup of tea, or they don't, and you've got patients that are probably the same way. So there's probably some patients where you say, yeah, I'm fine taking them, but what I really want is this unicorn over here. So we go through a bunch of questions that really help you identify your ideal client. Once we have that, we can tailor more of the content to reach that person and really speak to that person, what their language is, what their style is. Like I was mentioning before on Instagram, different ages sometimes like different parts of Instagram better. So if you find like, oh, I really want to reach the younger audience of Instagram, you might concentrate mostly on reels and stories. Whereas if you're trying to get more of the older audience, you might look at more of just the regular content in the feed. So yeah, getting that perfect patient and trying to market to them is better than trying to just put out a bunch of stuff to reach your whole patient base, because there's going to be a big difference in who they are. And if you try to please everybody, it's just going to be kind of meh.
Yeah, I love that, Corey. Rockstars, as you're listening to Corey, this is a really big concept. What we're talking about is creating an avatar.
Yes.
As you guys know online, I'm big on helping people recruit, and it all begins with imagining the perfect person, because when we're trying to help everybody, and I think that's the scarcity mindset, Corey,
Yeah.
is that when people are trying to like just get as many patients as they can, they shoot themselves in the foot because they get as many different kinds of patients or hires or whatever it is that they're marketing for. And they're miserable because you are saying, let's cut down to the chase of the most valuable, perfect customer or hire. And then you're looking to understand how they think and operate. And then you're going to where they live, whether it's reels for the younger person or whether it's the feed for the older people.
Right.
And I would say, just as a double point to that, Corey, that like the act of doing that with a professional on its own becomes a return on investment.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
How have you jumped right in? So why do you agree so emphatically with that?
Because I see a lot of people making the mistake of just putting content out there because they think, oh, I just want to teach people basic stuff about, for physical therapists, maybe basic exercises. all this stuff, but it's generic. It doesn't scream to the person, yes, I want to hire this person, or I want, my medical insurance to go to this person. Like you were saying with the scarcity mindset, a lot of people are afraid to be too specific because they're afraid they're going to turn other people away. But once you are that person and in that audience that people will say, oh, he or she, they're my guy, they're my gal. It makes a world of difference, and it makes converting them over to your services a lot better.
Yeah. And it's so funny. I have kind of on a parallel plane, a good friend of mine, he was telling me about this weight loss program that he joined. And I said, so how did you pick the weight loss program? And he said he was on Instagram and an ad came up that literally said, are you a young father who graduated from ASU University who's got 30 pounds to lose and you just don't understand why you can't lose it?
It's like, are you in my house?
Like, are you? Yeah. It was kind of like, are you in my brain? Like he said he didn't even have a choice. He's like, I had to click on learn more because it was nailing him so specifically. And that's when we get growth. It's not like this thing where it's like, hey, lose 20 pounds and look better. It's no, everyone's saying the same thing. And when everyone's saying the same thing, you become white noise. So you help people through Instagram, this wonderful target area of like finding everybody, but you can niche their perfect candidate or perfect customer down to where they are by understanding what that looks like. So you create the avatar. Once you do that, what are other things you do to help get new patients or find people hires or whatever?
Well, I mean, going back to your example of your friend is not only can you be creating that content towards that one person, you can also back it up with some Instagram ads where you're telling Instagram, I want to reach, men in their 30s to 40s who have school-age children. I mean, you can get pretty specific. If you try to do it just through the app, sometimes it doesn't go that granular, but this is kind of a higher level conversation. But if you go into the Facebook ads manager, you can run it just on Instagram, or you can run it on both. You can get pretty specific on the different topics and demographics.
So that's really neat, because if you had like a physical therapy client who is looking to target a vestibular rehab or pelvic health issues or very specific diagnoses, those we know on the medical side that there's traditional geographic. I'm sorry, I'm getting the word wrong, but there's
Demographic.
Demographic.
Yes.
Thank you. For those who are listening or laughing, it's been a few years since I've treated. So demographic information, you understand that like there's a certain type of profile of a patient who's typically going to suffer with those conditions. That information is transferable to what you could do with people.
Yes.
And helping them target those people for new patient visits and so on. And so I'm sure it's not that different on the recruiting side either. If they know who their ideal hire is, they can understand their pain points, their demographics, and so on, so that they can target the ads or whatever messaging that you have towards them as well. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's great. So, okay, so you work with clients on defining the right who, then you help them determine whether the right strategy. So talk about strategy. Like that word seems really like scary to me when it comes to Instagram. What is Instagram strategy, and how do you help create that with people?
So once we have our avatar, our ideal client or patient, we go through and one of the first things I will do with people is kind of test what their bandwidth is for how much they can give back to me. So if I'm doing a strategy and I'm talking to them and they're saying, oh my gosh, I have zero time for marketing. I'm so busy. I don't even want to look at this. Well, then I'm not going to say, well, let's do 5 reels a week and, things that really are heavily needing them to be in there. So that's one of the first things I do. And a lot of people don't do that. But as a business owner myself, I appreciate how much time I have. And I try to be realistic with people. And I don't like to give them something that I know is just going to be overwhelming. So I really like to start with where they are and build on that. So that's the first thing we look at, what they can do. Then we talk about what their goals are. So if they are trying to reach, if they're trying to get, say, 8 new patients a month, whatever it is, what are their goals and how can we achieve those? We also look at some of their competitors, like what do you see them doing really well? And how could we take that information and transfer it into something that you could do? So I do that a lot. And then once I have kind of that baseline, we look at the nitty gritty of how many times are we going to post a week? What kind of content are we going to post? We look at their messaging to see how they're speaking to their clients, what's effective for their clients. And then we get into the actual content itself and start creating some kind of test content. And we go back and forth to see how it resonates with them. And then we'll do some tests and, put it out there to see how the audience actually reacts to it. And then we build from there. It's, marketing is something you can't just throw it out once and be done. It's like
you have to take off.
Yeah, you have to go back and analyze what's working, what's not. Luckily, most all of the platforms at this point have a way to dig into the data some more and look at what's working. So we do that as well. And then just keep chugging along. And for those clients that don't have a lot of time and just want more content, I do have ways to just, once we have established what they need, delivering, 3 posts a week, once a month, and they can review it. I send it back and we get it posted for them. So that's kind of a, if somebody just wants something easy, they know they want to be out there, we can do that. And then for the ones that want to be more involved, we'll do more reels and really get into it.
Yeah, that's really cool that you have this ability to scale to where and meet people where they are with their tolerance for the extra work that goes into it. But I just want to highlight to the rock stars that are listening is that this world is intimidating, but we never think about what we think or how, we think about who. Like you being a who that they could potentially work with to help implement these things. I will tell you the research of how to leverage social media for new patient or recruiting, new patient growth or recruiting new PTs or whatever it is, it's phenomenal. And my partners, the people I've coached over the years, Corey, that leverage Instagram, they are winning the game at a completely different level. And I think the reason being is because most PT owners are so drowning in their own business, they don't have time to do much. And you're offering an opportunity for people just to get going into that. And I love that too, because as you're early stages testing things, which is a normal part of that process I've learned from my own journey, then you can go, wow, this is working. It'd be worth your time and money to amp this thing up. And once you get that strategy that's going. So talk about results. What are the things that you've seen with your clients when they leverage Instagram in terms of growing their company?
Well, with my work with Dignity Health, we definitely do see these patient growth. We're in open enrollment season right now.
Oh yeah, really big right now.
Yeah. So one of the things that I help Dignity Health with is managing their Facebook and Instagram comments. And they have a lot of ads running right now for different providers. And they're just ads saying like, come see Dr. Smith. And I'm seeing a lot of comments from people saying, okay, what's his address? How can I make an appointment? And we have ads that go directly to a landing page where they can make their appointment right there. So I'm seeing, I'm seeing direct results from these open enrollment ads. So that's probably, it relates the most to your audience. And it's definitely, I'm seeing it happen. I don't know in the PT world if it's as tough as it is in just, family practice and other types of businesses in the healthcare field, but it's hard to find doctors right now.
Oh, you just hit a nerve. Every PT listening is like, sister, you have no idea. PTs have the largest skew of number of providers to number of positions of any healthcare industry.
Okay.
So right now it's It's insane. The difficulty of recruiting is at a level it's never been at.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's interesting. So, and yeah, we're finding that as well. With doctors, people are saying, oh, I have to wait, 3 months to get in. And so when we have these ads, and we only do ads for the doctors who are accepting new patients, because why would we advertise otherwise? So for these patients, they are seeing, oh, he or she is available, next week. This is amazing. And so that's why they're so excited about it. So if you do have PTs that have an open book ready for more patients, and if it is as impacted as you're talking about, just getting that word out and talking about that specific, therapist, then there's a good chance that will convert into some new clients, new patients.
Absolutely. And I think the application to recruiting on this it goes without saying, because this generation, most PT owners are looking probably for that millennial Gen Z. I don't even know, like that 20 to something and above. They're looking for those individuals, and they're all on Instagram. So to have these targeted ads, or whether it's just posts that relate to them, I've seen clients of mine who have just cleaned up on the recruiting space. It's not hard to recruit physical therapists for every PT owner. It's hard for most, but the ones who know how to do it are cleaning up. And I will tell you, in every case, there's a huge LinkedIn component and other social media factors. The LinkedIn is a lot more of a targeted thing versus a branding thing, which is, an element there. But I love that you can help people meet where they are and help them grow and scale. And this all goes back to the fact that you've already written 4 books. I think it's a huge compliment that the Dummies for Dummies genre approached you on this. I mean, that is one of the greatest social proofs I've heard. Because that's the book company that has totally cornered the market on helping people get started in seemingly complex areas very simply. And you've got 4 books.
Yeah, I just got the PDF for the 5th one, the final PDF today. So I was excited about that. Like? I can't wait to get my paper copies.
That's so big. So writing the book obviously says a lot about you and your expertise. What is it about this 5th book that's different than the first 4?
Writing a book about a social media platform, there's changes all the time. So, it's basically an update of everything that's happened in the last, the Instagram for Dummies, the last one we wrote was about 2 years ago. So, there's new things about broadcast channels. All of the Reels functionality has changed a lot. I mean, when we first wrote that, it was very basic because they had just, rolled it out. And so now we have a lot more of the video editing capability. There's more features in stories, more things in life, like everything's been amped up. So, we just go into all of it. And I will tell you that we take all our own screenshots. We write, all of the directions ourselves. And there were a lot of changes. So
you're never going to stop writing books, because you've got that relationship. You have the ability. Obviously, this book company trusts you, and you've done well with the first 4 versions of the book. So the 5th one is the most current version of it.
Yes.
And I love that you're producing this book, because there's no way I would want to keep up with this. Now, I'm guessing if people want to kind of take this on themselves, the book would be the way to go. But then they can work with you if they wanted to just be like, you know what, this isn't even worth my time. I'm going to work with a professional to help me do that. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the book is perfect for somebody that says, okay, I'm going to figure this Instagram thing out. The nice thing about the way that the book is written is it's, you could pick up any chapter and read it. So if you said, okay, I want to learn about how to do Reels, there's 2 chapters on Reels, so they can just pop to that channel. It's not the type of book, I don't know if you've used other Dummies books, but it's not the type of book where you're going to read it the whole way through. It's more of a reference guide. So it's great for that person that says, yeah, I'm going to try this on my own. I think I know Instagram, like I use it for myself. Now I want to know how to do ads or how to do something. So it's great for that person. for the person that really wants a full strategy done and wants some hand holding and getting that ultimate ideal customer filled out, working with me is a perfect option because I can because I can walk you through all of that and really customize it specifically to you. So
I just love this because there's no one in physical therapy. We were talking about this before I hit record, that there's no one in the space right now who is bringing this type of service to the industry. And as we're changing the industry from this 30 billion PT specific industry to the $600 billion musculoskeletal industry, we have to start pivoting with technology that is like cutting edge and new, and stuff that's been around for a while, like Instagram, that people, if they know how to use this to develop their brand and market new patients and hire, they're cornering the industry. So I'm so excited to be able to introduce you to this very isolated space to help these men and women who are trying to make a bigger difference in all of their patients' lives, but need like resources and help to get started on some of these things like Instagram. And so, yeah, it's been phenomenal, like learning about it. What do you love about what you do, though? I would love for you to tell the audience, like, what is it that drives you about this?
well, part of it is that it's a job that's always changing and it's always challenging. So, there's some industries where things don't change that much year to year. But it's day to day, baby. So
It changes you couldn't find something more prone to change than social media.
yeah.
It's changing. All the algorithms are constantly evolving.
Yes. So, I mean, it's a blessing and a curse. I love part of it, but sometimes I'm just, please just stop changing things. So that's part of it. But I really do enjoy working with business owners, especially these service-based type of professionals, and learning more about what they do, because that's lifelong learning in itself, just learning about a new industry and what their problems are, what their pain points are, and figuring out how to get over those hurdles. So, yeah, I'll always love working one-on-one with different people to get some wins for them.
Yeah, I will tell you, one of the coolest things for me was when I started finally getting some traction in my social media campaigns, when I was getting clients and or hires from them, because there's an element of the social media serves as a system, right? Like as business owners, there's different stages. So we're self-employed when we're doing all the things that our business requires of us. So if we're healthcare providers and we're trading full-time, we're more self-employed than actual business owners. Self-employed trades time for money. Business owners trade people and processes for money. So having something built out in the social media space, those are systems and processes. So when you start getting results from that, it's no longer about the doctor or the therapist going out to the community to market or going to other doctors to market. They are in a position now where they have this digital world that's starting to create it. And what's really surprising that I want to tell you rock stars that are listening is that when you start getting into creating content for social media, it's very natural for healthcare providers because we are thought leaders and we get to educate, which is one of the core elements of why we chose to do what we do. We love being with patients and teaching them all about the things. So if we can use that platform and see it more as an opportunity, not to get new patients and get new hires, but to pour our soul into and to think of it as a microphone to people who are desperately needing to hear our voice. And then we can work with a professional like Corey that can help us create the content. Then we get results as a byproduct, and then it doesn't feel like work. Because then you're out there like expressing yourself and bearing your soul or educating on something you're passionate about, whatever that is. But I think a lot of people probably hesitate on getting into this world because I think the social media industry, at least when you flip through it casually, it feels like there's a lot of people trying too hard, right? Do you ever get that with clients that they're like, I want to do this, but I don't want to be one of those people?
Yeah. Cringy, I think is what you're looking for.
That's what you have kids my age. My kids' age. Do they say cringy?
It all depends how you approach it. And as you were talking about that you're educators, that kind of was just like a light bulb in my head. One of the things I really like to do with people like service providers, doctors, any of those types of positions is, yeah, you have a wealth of knowledge And that knowledge can easily be broken down into short videos, reels that can go up online. So even if you're just, talking to a patient, now I do not suggest you film anything with a patient unless you have this permission first.
Waivers,
Yes.
blood contracts, all that stuff. Yeah.
But, after you have a conversation with a patient and they leave the room and you think, oh gosh, this is something that comes up all the time. And I would really love to tell people about it. Jot that down, have maybe a little notebook or use your phone notes. And when you have these conversations, either you're having them over and over. And so you feel like, wow, this is an issue that a lot of people are dealing with. Those make great reels. And they can just be, a 1 minute little thing like, hey, have you noticed when you, pick up something off your bathroom floor that, this happens, whatever it is. And just educate about that. Those make really great videos.
I love how you said that, Corey, because I guess I'm thinking a lot of people are listening to this going, right now they're getting ideas. Like right now, as you were describing that, I can see people listening as they're driving their car going, yeah, I could do this. I could do that. I could do this. And here's the thing is like, it's part of our legacy as healthcare providers is the educational piece. Now, listen, if it's not natural for us to go dance on TikTok, like then we shouldn't do that kind of a thing. And whatever it is that we are passionate about, just speaking into that. And I'll tell you, I don't think it's an introversion, extroversion thing. I've seen great people I've known do very well on social media. I'm in a networking group for healthcare providers who are committed to like making bigger impacts. And of course, they all have podcasts. They all have like huge YouTube followings, whatever. But their thing is that they're just really authentic about the thing that they're talking about. And I have this one guy, he's a doctor who specializes in failed breast implant diseases. So very niche market. He's got millions of subscribers on YouTube. And he was sharing with me, he's like, yeah, I was driving home from work, like you were just talking about, Corey, and this issue came up. It was like the 100th time I came up with it. So in my car, I'm like, ladies, ... And he just talked about it. He didn't have it professionally edited. There's some softwares that are AI based that helped him just get something out there. But he, at his level, understands the strategy. He knows who he's talking to. And that's where you come in. You're coming in being like, because most people just don't know, especially if we've been running our practices, try to get as many patients as we can and hire many people as we can. We're not really clear what we stand for, but we do stand for something. And that's where someone like you comes in, is go, wow, this is something special.
Yeah, I think the other thing that gets people intimidated is they see a lot of videos where there's, these flashy captions and all these, emojis flying in, and it's just like, oh, how would I ever do that? You don't have to. A lot of the videos that do really well are just someone talking to the camera. Maybe they're stopped by the side of the road in their car and they just film a heartfelt moment. So authenticity and vulnerability, even, for these if you try it for the first time and you're thinking, oh man, I'm going to look really dumb. Just getting out there and saying, hey guys, this is the first time I've ever done a video. But I really want to send this information out to you because I think it's super important and people will listen and people won't judge you. And I think, especially if your audience, if your audience is 17-year-olds, they might judge you. Let's be honest.
Let me correct that. They will judge you.
Will
I have 17-year-old kids and they love to judge and they're the worst.
But if your audience is, more in the 35 and up age range, they realize it's scary too. And they're not going to, say, who's he trying to be?
Yeah. And what's funny about you saying that is even to push on the point, I know 17-year-olds judge, but there's a guy, I love thought leadership around entrepreneurship in general, not just in healthcare. There's this old dude, he was in his 70s, and I won't give out his real name now since I called him this old dude. But he was on TikTok and he had a YouTube channel and it was really funny, super successful guy, very old. And he did not want to be famous. He just really had this wealth of knowledge. You could tell from his first video that I saw, and he's massive. We're talking tens of millions of followers, And he's bigger on TikTok than anywhere else. And what I've realized is that, like, even with those judgy 17-year-olds, if we can just lean into who we actually are, because the guy doesn't try to be funny. He doesn't try to be smart. He doesn't try to be anything. He's just like, yeah, here's 3 things I wish I had known before my wife died. And people are just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then he talks a lot about his failures. I think we're not trained to be ourselves, and it's so easy when we learn, oh, I can literally pick up the phone and go, this is my first time I'm ever doing this. And here's why I'm doing it. And yeah, thanks for watching. I hope this wasn't too boring for you.
Yeah.
And then but I will say this. I really hope as people get into this, that less is more. Like, consistency is key and less is more, meaning when people tend to start making their first contents, they tend to go, in order to create value because they're afraid of being valuable, they're immediately not authentic and they tend to go too long versus share a thought as you're getting started and or just be consistent. So if it's just one thought a day, great. But that's where, again, Corey, you come in, is that you help take a lot of the stress out because you help them see what it is that they care about and what they want to talk about so that they can have more vision. And then it's less about being self-aware and more about producing value.
Yeah, exactly. And your audience is out there. The people that love you will watch you. So, yeah, absolutely. And just also real quick to your point about having one thought, I will say that videos that are even less than 30 seconds. I mean, if you're trying to get into a full thing, it's a little bit harder, but if it's a shorter video, people have this goldfish brain. So, if you start talking on and on and on, people will shut off. So if you have, if you think you have this huge long thing, maybe make it a 3-part series and say, today we're going to, I'm going to talk to you all about X, Y, and Z, but we can't cover it all in one video. So today we're just going to talk about A or X. And then, tomorrow we'll talk about Y. And then, so don't miss all 3 parts. So, stuff like that.
Yeah. And that keeps them like engaged for more anticipating, thinking about it. And especially if the first video is like this aha for them, they're looking for it at that point. I love that. Well, Corey, it has been phenomenal having you on the show. I can't thank you enough for taking time to be with us today. How can people get a hold of you to learn more about your book and learn about where that drops? I'd like to have whatever information you could give. If they want to just do a consult with you, you were willing to do that. And then lastly, if people are like, yeah, I've been looking for someone and I just need to know what it's like to work with Corey, where do I go? So where can you direct them?
Sure. Yeah. So my main website is themarketingspecialist.com. So kind of everything is available there. But if you want to follow me on Instagram, I am at Corey C. Walker. So CoreyCwalker on Instagram. And then the book is linked on my website. But if you want to just go straight to Amazon and look for Instagram for Business for Dummies, and just make sure you buy the latest version, which is purple.
Do you want to send me that link when it's ready and I'll just post it to this episode so people because today is October 23rd. So when does it come out?
So it is available now for pre-order. So I can send you a link today.
Done.
But it drops officially. We'll start sending out December 5th. So right in time for the holidays.
Just in time for Christmas when you're around that fire, eating those roasted chestnuts.
Your dummies book.
I need my dummies book to get me started on Instagram. So thank you, Corey, for being here. We sure appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you.
Audience, thank you for tuning in. Please reach out to Corey if you have any questions, and we'll see you guys next time. Guys, thank you for taking time to listen to today's episode. If you found today's information to be useful, could you take a minute and help me? I would love it if you could leave a podcast review in your app so that other people who are looking for this information can find it. Plus, my dream is to have the largest network of medical entrepreneurs and leaders in the world so that together we can change healthcare to make it better for all. So in addition, if you can think of anyone that you could send this to, not only would that mean a lot to me personally, but it would build this network so that we can make healthcare the way that we want it.